Let me just set this up. See, what makes it more challenging is my daughters decide to use up all of the iPad battery, so I've got to have this on the charger whilst I'm doing this. So, people, alright, I've got this for the first time on YouTube. Look at this, actually I can see some green boxes as people are tuning in. This is all new to me. So, right, first things first, let's share this, get this out there, people, get this out there. So I'm gonna switch this off from there. Oh, I gotta check, can anybody see my, now that I've got double alright, people, alright, what have we got today? Let me just share this first of all. Just gonna put this, share this onto my other Facebook page. There was a time when all this was simple, and then these updates come along and they ruin everything. Right, so, well, there it is. I see it. I see it, people. So, where we at? Let me just, almost done, almost. I don't know. Right, is that, are we done? For God's sake, yes. Lillahi alhamd, lillahi alhamd. Alright, so inna alhamda lillahi wa kafah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulihi al-Mustafa, wa ala ibadi alladhina irtada, wa man bihudahum ihtada, wa bi athari ahli al-Madinati iqtafa, wa ba'd, fa salamullahi ala al-qawm, wa ahlan wa sahlan bikum, wa marhaban wa khushamadid, wa swagatam, people, swagatam, wa hwan ying lights for all our Changwaran that are tuning in as well. Right, so what has been going on, people? What has been going on? What a week, huh? What a week. So, quite a few things going on. I'm just bringing this up at the same time. I'll be able to take a look at the Q&A. Yes, salam. That's better, that's better. So, first of all, how are all of you doing, man? Look at that. A shout out straight away. Al-Baqalani wants a shout out to Oldham. It's alright, shout out Oldham. There you go. All the... Right, so what have we got going on? Tell me something about... Tariq Ramadan. What can I possibly tell you? There's... all I know is what people know in general. I do think it's a difficult kind of world, you see, because anytime there's an allegation that is usually sexual related, like sex related, Allahu A'lam if it's true or not, but before you can even arrive to any conclusion or arrive to any knowledge on the matter, society, the fact that there's an allegation, society is so cruelly judgmental, and being innocent till proven guilty just is the first thing that goes out the window. So I think it's difficult. I was reading up about some of the things about his stay and medical conditions and stuff like this, and the French system towards Islam in general. Good morning, Vietnam. God damn, I need to wake up. Should have done squats instead. Okay, people, don't digress too much with your conversations. Faith is easy. Somebody on, I'm going YouTube too today, people. YouTube live as well. That's what I'm talking about. All right, devil signs. So, what else has been happening this week? Because he's a clown and entertaining, but can't take his opinion seriously. Oh no. Oh no. Seriously. Oh damn, the name went. I want to know who that was. It said, I'll have to read it up. Somebody can't take me seriously. And here's me thinking we could work this out. And I'm saying we can work on this. I thought we had a thing here. There's I can change. No. Vochali. Looks like the he-she has gone and left me. So, right, so what's been going on? So while people are tuning in, Sid, all right, doing it. Right, so whilst we've got people still tuning in, those of you just tuning in, click like, click share, get this out there. I don't know whether you can share this or not on YouTube. This is fresh and exclusive for you YouTube viewers. I've got another iPad up there now. Look at that dual system, bro. Dual. This is the two horns of the devil. God, I love winding people up. Right, so yeah, so click like, click share, get this out there, people. Get it out there. And whilst people are tuning in, let's talk about what's been going on this past week. So, well, it's been Valentine's Day. That's kind of over and done with. And actually, speaking on Valentine's Day, let's just pause there for a moment and elaborate. So this video went around, right? I have to obviously comment on this. If I don't comment, people are going to get upset. They're going to be like, why hasn't Mufti commented on this situation? On this, on this situation. So let's expand a bit. There was this clip uploaded about this couple. Those of you just tuning in, click like, click share, people. Get this out there. Get this out there. So there was this couple who got caught. It was the romantic mood. It was Valentine's Day. And this couple slightly got carried away. What's that? They got a bit in the heat of the moment. They got carried away. So they got up to a bit of natty. And then presumably they got busted. So, what do you know? Lo and behold, people, yes, salam, it's because they were possessed by demons. That's why they were too busy. They were just too busy kind of... the demons had the heat in them. The demons brought the heat to the table. وَالْجَانِ خَلَقْنَاهُ مِنْ قَبْلُ مِنْ نَارِ السَّمُومِ. As the Quran. The jinn, they're made out of fire, you see, so... They brought the heat to the table. And the heat and the passion, the passion, resulted in this human connection. So now they're getting exorcised, right? So it was on Facebook, maybe on other social media too. So they're getting exorcised. And this couple, this exorcism couple, are kind of taking the jinn out of them. I mean, does this stuff get any dumber than this? Or I think to myself, God, those people who have to destroy religion, I mean, it's too cut out for them, isn't it? It's just too easy. It's like Muslims just make it too easy for them. It's not fair. So this girl was sitting there doing my hand signs. She was going like yeah. All right, that's what I'm talking about. So it looks like the same jinn that possesses her must be the one that possesses me. All right, people, that's what I'm talking about. So anyway, and then the person says, I cast thee to get out of this body, never come back. And the jinn goes, no, Adrian. And he goes, no. And they pull the jinn out of him. And then he says to her, or the girl says to her, you better leave or I'm gonna, if you come back, I will kill you. I even thought, whoa, okay. Talk about 0 to 60. Not like I will baptize you or exorcise. I will kill you. You underestimate my powers. I will kill you, God damn it. How many jinn have you killed? I mean, you know what must be really hilarious? Is the jinn actually watching this stuff? The jinn must be having like a field day, thinking like, they must be like, what is she smoking? So they're like, you know, oh, I will, if you come back, I will kill you. And the jinn's like, the jinn say, oh, okay, and the jinn leaves her. And then they say, see people, this is why the jinn are so dangerous, because they make you want to have sex. Really? I thought that was another organ in the body. I didn't think, I mean, I wouldn't quite refer to it as jinn, but, you know, I mean, whatever takes your fancy, I guess. I can see why you might want to call it a demon. I get that. But, so we've had that going on. Seham Kebdania says, why is it funny? Why? But why? I don't know why. You know, it's the jinn. It's not me. It's the jinn making me laugh. See, I've got a jinn in me that just makes me laugh. What can I do? Now what to do? What to do? What to do? Playing fire with fire makes it melt. Ooh. Ah, right. What's this? I see that Facebook has changed the... There is only one God and does good, and Mu'min is... I'm not sure how many wives you checked out. Ooh, how many wives you checked out? First of all, it's spelled wives. It's that Shah Islam again. The plural of wives is not wives, it's wives. Okay, so you're not gonna get it like this, Shah. I'm sorry to say, you know, I think they're not gonna quite give you the nationality, the naturalization test. They're gonna decline it, my friend. So you're gonna have to work a bit harder on that British citizen kind of test. But you'll get there. Don't give up. Don't give up. Right. So what are the questions we got? Right. Well, so in addition to that, there's been a refutation against me. Can you believe it, people? A refutation against somebody as somebody who minds their own business like me. So I'm going to come to that refutation. I'm going to come to that refutation, people. Also, What else has been going on? Ghalib, the legend Ghalib, people, this last week was his death anniversary. I don't know if you know Ghalib, but if you don't, that's a shame. The man was a legend. He said, "Koi aisa bhi hoga ke Ghalib ko na jane." Will there be anybody who does not know of Ghalib? Like, will there ever be anybody? Look at the confidence. That's the kind of confidence I aspire to have. कोई ऐसा भी होगा कि गालिब को ना जाने, शायर तो अच्छा है पे बदनाम बहुत है. This is what he said. He said he's a Don poet, even though he's got a bad reputation. That's right. Other than that, thoughts on Asma Jahangir. Mufti, how about the Tawarruk position in prayer according to the Maliki method? Check out my video on YouTube on how to pray. I speak about the Tawarruk and the Iftirash or the Ifda and all these positions on there. These are Salah positions. Alright, so watch my video. It is available, people. Right, so ¿por qué? ¿Por qué? Why have you not watched this, may I ask? I do magic tricks. Is this allowed? Hell yeah, it's allowed. It's allowed. So I shared this a kind of tribute to a Pakistani activist, human rights activist by the name of Asma Jahangir. And I shared that earlier this week, a few days ago. And she's somebody since her teens, actually. I think she's been into this human rights activism and fighting for this right and that right, and helped minorities and people of other faith and Christians and women against oppression and all this stuff in Pakistan. And she's been beaten and imprisoned and attacked and by all kinds of people, and religious extremists and misogynists and people just fascists and all kinds of things. She became a lawyer and she dedicated her life to this kind of struggle. I have to admit, I haven't followed her too closely, but from what I've come across of her, she's somebody who stood for a cause, for human rights, and she fought for it and stood with it till her death. And I salute that. You know, it's, to me, that is incredible courage. So I kind of shared a thing and said, look, you know, may she kind of rest in peace. And, you know, may Allah grant her an elevated maqam in paradise. So the bigots came out. They came out in droves and bloody, oh my God, is she even a Muslim though? Oh, she said in some interview, I couldn't read, in some 20-second clip, a 20-second clip that is cut and paste, where she is speaking about, look, in my human rights, I don't look at religion. I'm not interested in religion. That's what she's saying. Yeah. Because look, you have to understand that the societies in that part of the world are extremely bigoted. The men, it's a very patriarchal society. So they look down upon women to start off with. Then they look down on everything they can. The racist, look down on racism, colour. They'll look down on castes. If you're a lower caste, they'll look down on social status. It is just a dog-eat-dog world. Okay, it's a dog-eat-dog. You know, once I read somebody writing that as dog-eat-dog. It's not dog-eat-dog, dog-eat-dog. Dog-eat-dog world. Yeah, so it's a dog-eat-dog world out there. And people, you see, and some of the worst kind of people are these some, I'm not saying all, but some of the clergy. Seriously, the mullah people, the God squad. Some of them are the worst of people. So bigoted, so arrogant, right? They think they are God's gift on earth. They think like they're doing a favor on God for existing. Seriously. The way they think they have a monopoly on stuff. And these people, their attitudes towards this woman were vile. Oh, she's a kafir, this. So of course she's not going to engage people on a religious platform. Because the people who claim to monopolize religion, many of them are just bigots out there. So why is she going to... They don't even spare each other. The Brelvis consider Deobandis and Ahl Hadith all to be kafir. They consider them to be kafir. Amongst the Deobandis, the Mamatis and the Hayatis and the Panjpiris and amongst the Salafis, the Madkhalis and the super Salafis and the Ahl Hadith and then the Shia and then the Qadianis and Ismailis, and everybody just calls each other a kafir. So, why is a woman who is not even really, doesn't appear, Allahu A'lam, but doesn't appear to be so kind of religiously inclined, let's say she's not practicing, I don't know, but let's say she isn't, why is she going to entertain people on that level? Right, so this lady, Asma Jahangir, she obviously, in certain things, said, look, I'm not speaking about religion. I'm speaking about human rights. So people kind of made all these comments. Some people made these comments on my post about how can you pray for heaven for somebody who's the kafir, somebody who's gonna go hell. Thank God you're not on the gates of paradise. Thank God I don't worship you, you bigot. Because people like you are the reason why people despise religion. Seriously. What did the Prophet of God say? The Prophet of God. He said that nobody goes to paradise. No Muslim, no kafir, nobody, except but through their actions. It is by the grace of God and His mercy. And Allah is all merciful. If Allah wants, everybody can go to paradise. You don't have no contract with God. You understand that? Oh, but we had the contract. Oh, you said you're going to punish the kuffar. It ain't up to you. Right? So people go, oh my God, this is so dangerous. Mufti is trying to say there is an exclusive, there is no salvific exclusivity. Baap ka raj hai kya? Is this your dad's deen? That there's no salvific exclusivity. Let's just look at the world right now, seriously. The majority of mankind forever, and including today, are not Muslim. So you believe that everybody has to go to hell. Why? And I tell you that hadith, which is in Sahih al-Bukhari, is unacceptable. Unacceptable. The hadith that Allah created people just so He could throw them into the hellfire. This hadith is utterly unacceptable. So do not fall victim to this kind of nonsensical propaganda, people. Right? Allah reminds you, look how shocking it is. Allah repetitively reminds you, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Bismillah Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. And what is the first thing you forget about Him? He's Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. So this is, that there's a hadith about, in Bukhari, about Allah created a specific creation just so He could throw them in the hellfire, and the hellfire will say, have you got more, have you got more? And then Allah will put His foot on the fire. I mean, this kind of hadith is nonsensical, right? First of all, the majority of the ummah never accepted that hadith ever as a literal thing, despite put the modern day Salafis and the classical Hanbalis aside, who are probably 10% of this ummah at most, and that's me blagging, right? They weren't even probably 10%. I mean, the Hanbalis, just like a side little thing, okay? The majority of this ummah never ever accepted things like God has body parts and God has a foot and God has a hand and God has this and God has that. These kind of things were never accepted by the majority of the ummah. It was always figurative speech, right? So I'm just saying, so this hadith, right, it clashes. The way its apparent reading is unacceptable. Yes, if you want to accept it with some kind of allegory or something, fine. Personally, I don't accept it, and I do see problems with it. And start off with the key problem is it clashes with the Quran. Okay, so right now, right, so let's... and then we've what I'd like to talk about today as well, so do share this, like it, share it, is I'd been asked a question. So some people have got stressed out. See, I had to just stack that with the ice today. I had to stack it. Because I knew, because of the jinn in me, there's going to be the heat. It's going to bring the heat today. So, right. What about the ayah in the Quran that says, which ayah are you talking about? You see, when Allah has said, you've got to understand something. When Allah speaks about the hellfire in the Quran and things like this, this is as a threat to people. You have to understand. That is the kind of religious rhetoric in which people are addressed. Okay, Allah speaks of a life after this which we can never fathom what that means. It's only naivety that we think we know what it's like clouds or things like this. It's not. And Allah speaks of eternal damnation or eternal bliss. Whatever these things mean, we do not understand. And it's different during the lifetime of the Prophet, and after. Many Muslims have kind of distorted, many Muslims and then definitely non-Muslims have distorted the face of Islam. So Islam, to reach people after that, it's always in a state of ambiguity. And this is why scholars like Imam Ghazali wrote in his time, when he was asked about the kind of Byzantine kind of dynasty and people who lived there and they rejected Islam, he said that we're not to say that these people are damned. He said that Islam reaching them in our day, and this is his day and age, almost, this is 900 years ago. He's saying Islam reaching them is so distorted, it's a miracle if they're going to embrace. That's in his day and age. What do you think it's like in our day and age? Right, so, okay. Right, people are asking me, how was studying? Studying was awesome. What did Imam Malik say about arranged marriage? He never said anything about arranged marriage, as far as I'm aware of. They never generally practiced that much. I mean, people did as well, but they just had like pragmatic kind of relation. Marriages and things like that. They did have arranged marriages, but not exclusively. They just, if they liked somebody, they proposed. Game over. It's as simple as that. Can men and women pray together? Yes, of course they can. Generally, the understanding is that women pray at... there will be the men's rows and then the women's rows, female rows. They don't need a barrier in between them, just as the Prophet didn't place a barrier. But obviously, today people are more pious than the time of the Prophet, isn't it? That's the problem. The problem today is people's piety levels today seem to exceed that of the Prophet and his companions. This is the problem. The companions would be the first people to be kind of outcasted and deemed heretics if they were alive today. Don't get me started. So, yeah, right. People tuning in, click like, click share. What are the major differences between the Shafi'i and Maliki school of thought? Huge differences, huge. And it's not just about rulings, it's about mindset. The school of Medina was always a school that it was kind of far-sighted. It's had a long-term kind of vision. And the Hanafi school was like that in the beginning as well, but then later on it got hijacked. But the school of Medina was always one that based itself firmly on objectives of the Sharia, on the welfare of the people. People were always a primary kind of focus, and the welfare of the people. Right, so he says, I don't know what that means. When are you making gay marriage halal with your logic? Oh. Right, so people on YouTube seem to be obsessed about a lot of questions about sodomy coming in. A lot of Freudian revelations taking place on YouTube. Can women lead a congregational prayer? I've discussed this last week, that women can lead women without an issue. And that is, I mean, some people debate it, but generally that's not too much of an issue. Women leading men in prayer, I did mention the difference of opinion by people like Ibn Jarir al-Tabari, Abu Thawr, maybe al-Muzani from the Shafi'iyya, people like this. But the general understanding is women don't lead, they generally don't lead in prayer. And I did mention that I don't personally advocate for them to lead. I don't think that is, in my understanding, an issue. I don't think it has to become an issue of kind of egalitarianism, because not even all men are cut out to lead. And I know people would say, yeah, but you know, women. I just think that it would, you see, there's some things in this world that you have to look at from an eye of pragmatism, and I think it would just always be more trouble, so it's not worth it. And that is salah, leading the salah. That said, if a woman did lead the salah, I do believe the salah would be valid. I don't believe it would be invalid. Okay, and the hadith in Abu Dawood of Waraqah, that the Prophet set for her to lead her household folks in prayer, and amongst them were men as well. Right. I was making a sandwich and a jinn pushed me. Alright, so people tuning in, click like, click share, people, get this out there. Before I go into, I'm going to look at some refutations as well today. And I'm going to speak about also this this thing of the marriage of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to Safiya, his Jewish wife, and how this story has been distorted, right? So by the far right, and how Muslims have really contributed massively in defaming and distorting the face of Islam. It is shocking actually. It's highly disturbing. I'm more than anything hurt by Muslims than I am by Islamophobes, because the Islamophobes, you kind of expect them to do it, but Muslims, it's a shame. Disgusting, honestly. We hold such a lowly opinion of our Prophet. It is a shame, honestly. It's amazing how low we are prepared to stoop just to save the sectarian face, just to kind of be cool with our group. That the first thing we're prepared to debunk and just kind of jettison, completely, just dump, is the honor of the Prophet. That is the first thing that goes out the window. And it doesn't matter how many big claims people make, we love the Prophet, we love the Prophet. The truth is, the proof is in the pudding, people. it doesn't seem that you, if that's what you call love, then keep your love. That love, keep it for yourself. You know, it'll probably help you on a lonely winter night sometime. That kind of love, nobody needs it because it's so rude and disrespectful. And I'll come into stuff. I'm going to speak about that. So anyway, before we get to that, I'm going to let you all share and like, and I don't know how you can share the YouTube thing. I don't know. Probably you can, probably you can't. I don't know, people. I haven't. Or you can share the link. Of course, you can share the link. I never thought. There you go. It's working now, people. It's working. Let's take a look at some of these questions. Yeah, I'm going to speak about that. So I'm going to come to that. Right, people, let's take a look. Share this, like it, get it out there. What is your opinion on Tafsir of Imam Razi? The Tafsir of Imam Razi is awesome. Mafatih al-Ghayb. It is a brilliant tafsir of Imam Razi. I mean, it's legendary, really, and I think it's a disservice if anybody tries to diss it just because it has certain things in there that they feel are irrelevant. But he is one of our classical scholars. He does an amazing job, just as other people do. And you know, with tafsir, you've got to go through different tafasir. It's not easy just going through just one, because you've got to put yourself in their mind, but you've got to come back to your own day and age. Seriously, this is too important. Let's take a question that's been pre-submitted. Some of the pre-submitted questions, people, and then what we'll do is we'll get back to what is going on, man? What is going on? I'm just trying to. Right, okay, let's take some of these questions. Can you discuss the hadith which states that women are less intelligent than men? I believe it's in Sahih Muslim. I have answered this before, that this hadith was said out of jest. It was humor. It was kind of like said in a, I mean, I don't know if, it was kind of like almost sarcastic humor, but said in that kind of way. It wasn't that the Prophet was teaching when he said that. Because one of the women, because some of the women, when the Prophet was giving his khutbah, were doing certain things. And they were asking certain questions. And then the Prophet said that. That was just as, it was just as people would say, as people would humorize other people. And you can't, to take a joke out of proportion is illogical and irrational. So the Prophet said, you know, that they naqisat al-aql wa naqisat al-din, and that they lack aql and lack. And this was just a joke, and people do these. Look, people make jokes all the time. You know, jokes will sometimes, and that is just the way of life. And people might say, oh, but it's misogynistic. No, it's a joke. You understand? You have to be able to, you know, an intelligent person can differentiate between humor and between reality. So, right, okay. Right. Kalam, so why watch you? Right, okay, I don't. Let's take a look at, and I have answered this before, so do check out my previous Q&A, people. Anyone who makes haram halal, we just got an announcement. Anyone who makes haram halal, and halal haram, is a kafir, kufr akbar. All in caps lock, by the way, all in capital letters. Even the angels are like, whoa, okay. The angels are like, should we report this? Shall we let God know? Love it, love it. It's amazing. You know, the naivety of Muslims, the insecurities. Ah. Why didn't Islam abolish slavery? I have answered this before in much detail. Do check my previous response on it. He is possessed. Please have some respect. This is live show. Alright. Right, so there's a lot of mixed messages on the all of the love, people coming in from YouTube. Right back at you, man. Nothing but love, people. Nothing but love. And obviously some hate. You know, the haters as well. I think the haters deep down have this problem that they kind of I think they struggle, that they hate something that they must, they have this kind of, they're drawn this obsession with me. I'm telling you, this hate of mine will consume you. It's a curse. It's a curse, I'll tell you. You'll become obsessed with me. And it doesn't bother me. Because I'll just block you and blast you back into oblivion. Right. Mufti Saab. Right. Tell us why you had... right. I will kick your teeth in. Hi, hi. Oh, oh. All in caps lock as well. You do know that IP address is obviously registered. You do understand that how the police can very easily track that. I'm just saying. This is how retards make threats. They make a threat from their phone. That's great. It's great. But Jug, I'm terrified. Eating with hand sunnah. Is eating with your hand sunnah? Right, is eating with your hand sunnah? Of course it is. As in, what does that mean? As opposed to eating with your, like, what else do people eat with? If you mean by that holding a spoon or a knife and fork, then is that what you mean? Because, or do you mean like you have to take the, let's say, the rice and eat it with your hands and things like that? Of course not. These things that it is sunnah to sit on the floor, it is sunnah to sleep on the floor, it is sunnah to break meat with your hand as opposed to cut it with a knife and fork. This kind of stuff is nothing but folklore. This is just cultural religion. This isn't real religion. This is just things which the masses have kind of circulated and stuff like this. And people who've done a disservice as well in this arena are the Tablighi Jamaat. They've also spread, with good intentions, but they spread a lot of nonsense like that. Should Muslims eat and drink with the right hand? Yeah, the ruling of the right hand is generally given as it's kind of like brought in as a kind of ritual within Islam, that it's given priority, and people generally saw, they were kind of optimistic with the right hand. And you have to remember, in the Prophet's time, people, it was also hygiene related as well. So these things, so the Prophet explained and said to people, eat with your right hand. These things generally, it doesn't mean it's haram not to eat with your right hand, but as an etiquette, to kind of follow that as a ritual, fine, that's generally the teaching. What's your take on the new Hindu temple being opened in Abu Dhabi by Narendra Modi? Va Modi ji va. You know, there's that that meme that they've, that kind of like video clip of Modi. Va Modi ji va. I've got no issues with them opening a temple. By all means, open temples. You know, it doesn't bother. We shouldn't become insecure about our faith. You know, this kind of faith that we have is such an insecure one. Where we kind of, feel that, oh my God, ban, in Muslim lands, ban. That's such bigotry. Ban every other worship. Oh, but in non-Muslim lands, let's claim human rights and say, oh, but why are you banning Islamophobia? Why are you banning masjids? But then in Muslim lands, people are like, ban these Hindus. Oh, why? What? For God's sake, if you are fearful of Hinduism, your faith is in a very critical state, my friend. Hinduism isn't something to be fearful of. Hinduism, in essence, was actually a very kind of embracing and tolerant faith. It was actually very respectful of other faiths. This is why Islam, in its early days, managed to kind of harmonize so well there, because in Hinduism, each region, each people choose their own god, and they favor their own god. So they may be, Ganesh in this place, Krishna in that place, Ram in this place. Maybe they've got their own kind of, and they can choose and prefer certain gods, and they can have their own traditions, and they didn't used to think each other was a deviant, so to speak. So based on these things, when Islam came, they didn't see it as a problem, because they just saw that as like, oh, it's just a different way of doing things. But it's later on, this kind of harsh, brutal kind of, there's a harsh kind of Islam that didn't gel well. And in recent times, we're seeing a spike in Hindu fundamentalism, and people like Shiv Sena movements and stuff like this, which are just fascist, bigoted kind of movements, racist, Islamophobe kind of movements that target people, attack them, murder them and stuff like this. May Allah, grant ease to people wherever they are. Videos of pedophilia. What the hell? Somebody's lost the plot totally, I think. Mufti, what is your explanation on Banu Qurayza? I've explained these things before. Does apostasy in Islam, there's no compulsion. Apostasy has no punishment in Islam. And the punishment that was ascribed to it is more to do with treason in a historical context and would have no relevance in today's world. Okay. Talking about people making alcohol, zina, music and themselves in the end of time. That hadith is weak. That hadith is weak, which is in Bukhari. Bukhari blagged it. That one he did try. Ibn Hazm caught him on it. Imam Bukhari is an amazing individual, but he's not Right, now, what is the best Maliki school in the world today? Sorry, I'm just trying to go through all of these things. I use an electric toothbrush. Oh, good for you, my friend, good for you. Right, so, okay, what are the questions we're looking at? Then we're going to move on to some of these refutations. Right, so, I read somewhere someone saying Imam Abu Hanifa was called a son of a astaghfirullah for opposing Hassan al-Basri, and that Imam Bukhari said Imam Abu Hanifa made tawbah from kufr 3 times, and Imam Ahmad said Abu Hanifa's opinions are camel shit. I'm just reading this, okay. Camel crap. Is this true? And what is the sort of adab from the Salaf? It is true that the Salaf, some of them, I don't know about the Salaf, Imam Ahmad is not from the Salaf, right? But the Salaf anyway, or the early scholars, it is true some of their words about each other are very harsh. I don't know if Imam Ahmad said that Imam Abu Hanifa was like, his teachings are like camel crap. But I do know he used very harsh words against Imam Abu Hanifa. He even had the audacity to criticize Imam Malik, you know, and like quite harshly. And but I mean, you know, people get all kind of, you see, the thing is, what's happened over time, all these things have been kind of brushed under the carpet, and there's been a very romanticized view of, because they did say, and sometimes in some occasions, they did say nice things as well. So the nice things have been carried on, and the other things, they've kind of brushed them under the carpet. But the truth is, they were kind of very, sometimes vicious. Some of these people were vicious at the likes of Imam Abu Hanifa because they couldn't tolerate that he was being different. See, Imam Abu Hanifa kind of thought out of the box, and people didn't like that. Imam Malik thought out of the box, and people didn't like that. But with Imam Malik, it was more difficult to criticize him because he was such a don. You know, he was the don of Medina. So it was harder, and Imam Abu Hanifa was a soft target. So people criticized him, they called him a kafir, they called him, in fact, there's statements of scholars saying, I thank God the day he died, and things like this. Is shocking stuff. You know, when you read it, it's hurtful stuff. And it's amazing because the followers of the Hanafi madhab do kind of the same thing today. Just to other people. It's amazing, you know, like people don't learn their lesson, do they? Yeah. Mufti Saab, is it true that you were caught with... Huh? You were caught with porn? No, it is not true, my friend. That is not true. So, Mufti, Qabd or Sadal, what is stronger? Both are valid positions within the Maliki madhab. Mufti Saab, sorry for the comment. Okay. No hay problema, no hay problema. Now you're drinking with your left hand. Seriously, some of the questions. Please read my comment. Please, please, please. Okay, I read it. What should I do now? View of taqleed. Guys, you see, because this is YouTube, so they're all getting obsessed with me drinking with the wrong hand, and they all of a sudden feel that God has maybe given them the next best thing to prophecy and prophethood, the next best thing down, and they want to exercise that by kind of first of all commanding the good against me. Right, okay, God, YouTube has got some strange people commenting on it, man. I heard Mufti Saab that Ibn Khaldun spoke about evolution. I think in some preliminary terms he did, in some preliminary terms. Right, so okay, now let's move on. Let's move on, people. Will a miracle happen tonight? What was your take on Ali Dawa debate with Tommy Robinson? Yeah. I'll come to this. I'm going to come to stuff like that. Does any scholar have an isnad to Imam Malik? Apun ke paas hai yaar. I've got an isnad going back to Imam Malik. I am from the students, the indirect students of Imam Malik. Even though Imam Malik's probably having like a triple heart attack thinking about that. But of course I've got chains of Asanid. I've got chains authorizing me right back to the book of Imam Malik himself. And am I on Snapchat? Hell yes. Malm 2014, MALM 2014. Right, shukran. Those of you with your encouraging words, much respect, much love. People, stay blessed. Right, so could you explain more on al-Lawh al-Mahfuz? Well, not today. What is your opinion on Yazid ibn Muawiyah? I've discussed this in the past. I mean, I've said I don't believe he was a kafir. But, you know, I'm not there to defend. I think some tragedies, some unquestionable tragedies happened throughout his lifetime. And I'm not here to defend his action. Doesn't really, you know, he can defend his own actions. So, but I don't agree with calling him a kafir, and I don't agree with us obsessing over these people of the past. I think we should spend our time doing better things. Right, so why are Salafis so strict? Because it's a Puritanism approach. Alright, so people, was music seemingly forbidden because of its association with alcohol and zina? Of course not. Music is not haram. Watch my clip on YouTube explaining how music is not haram, people. Okay, now let's move on, people. Let's take a look at some of these. Right, okay, so there's been a refutation. Let's take a look at this refutation to start off with. Is backside intercourse haram? Is backside intercourse, having the intercourse, the discourse in the backs? Come on, behave, people, behave. Can't take you guys anywhere. Wherever you go, all of a sudden you become obsessed with sodomy. Behave, people. I've answered this stuff before, that there is a difference of opinion on the matter. Right, so Toba. Right, exactly. Tell me, what am I supposed to? I think because the YouTube people are all new, so they're a bit excited. Right, so let's take a look at this refutation. So, people, I had this refutation come my way. Can I record? What's this? Can I record someone to verify abuse and they continue to slander? Can I post it without withholding names? Sure, why not? Right, so yeah, let's focus here. Right, so I've had this link sent to me a few days ago. A few people sent it saying, all right, we've got some racist how do you... Okay, I got it now. Right, so some racism going on there against white people is utterly unacceptable. Right, so I had this link sent to me, and some people said, hey, you know, on YouTube there's this live session going on refuting you. You need to check this out. Right, so I was like, whoa, all right, go on then. So later on I watched this thing and it was dedicated to me. So when people are going to dedicate something to me, what the hell, the least I can do is, I suppose, watch it. So I kind of watched this thing, and basically some guys, I think 3 of them, I don't know if there was a 4th, I could make out 3, they had a YouTube live session criticizing me, almost obsessed, really, and they were focusing on this video of mine from one of my Q&As where I'm speaking about certain miracles and what I believe them to be unestablished, non-authentic. And the hadith that we've got in mind that I'm speaking about in that example is the tree crying. And I said that, look, and I quote some of the hadith in there. I quote this one from Anas, I quote this one from Jabir, radiallahu anhum, and some other companions, and I demonstrate how the chains have problems in them. Now, they're criticizing that, and they go right out, proper start cussing me. I mean, first they start off trying to be very respectful, then they really go in at, you know, like, oh, this guy, you know, begs it, he's just begging people for this, begging people, ha 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 ha, you know, what an idiot, he ain't that clever, he's a blah, just proper going at me. Yeah. Nevertheless, put that aside. That kind of stuff, I'm used to that kind of stuff. But okay, so they make these kind of claims, and then they say, well, he got this, and they title this Mufti Abu Layth's attack on the Sunnah. This is what they title it. And they're having this discussion, and then they bring out some objections. So I wanted to highlight some of these objections. Where are the admin today? Mark and block crew, I need to know that you guys are are in operation, right? So now, right? So anyway, so I thought, well, okay, fine. Some people have asked me, can you respond to their can you respond to these kind of allegations that people have said? And I think that's a fair point. But before I do that, I need to kind of give a backdrop to what's going on. First of all, these people completely ignored what I mentioned about blasphemy. Okay, good. So I've just seen the mock and block saying they're active, right? So, by the way, if some of the mock and block can get on to the YouTube channel and filter the retards. Anyway, so look, I want to give a backdrop before responding to this. Those of you just tuning in, click like, click share, get this out there, people. Right, so this, why have I, in that video, I made 2 key points. Okay, the first one was to do with why this hadith is problematic. This narration, this narrative is problematic. And I go into some details. And I mention why this is problematic. And then I mention that people who are saying to me that I'm being disrespectful, right, I challenge and urge and beg these people, since they claim to love the Prophet, to decry, debunk, and reject these teachings that are being pushed by Muslims about the Prophet. Saying things like the Prophet became clumsy because he had a magic spell done on him. The Prophet became sexually impotent. The Prophet married a child and had sexual relationship with a child. That the Prophet commanded the execution of people he didn't like. That the Prophet Moses ran around naked so people could see his testicles. I said, I beg you to reject and refute these teachings. And what do? These idiots, right? All they do is they come on, criticize my first point, and affirm all of these teachings, right? So I'm going to come to this now gradually. So let's get into their criticism, what they raise about me. So why did just to make you understand, why did I say this teaching is problematic? Okay, before we even look at the asanid, which I demonstrated, the asanid on this are problematic about the tree crying and stuff like this. But why is this an issue? Because this deen is built on reason. When you start accepting unreasonable things, then you have to be consistent. You have to be consistent. When I ask you, why is Hinduism inaccurate? Why is it wrong? Why is a god with an elephant's head absurd? Why is it absurd? You can't say because that's dumb and doesn't make any sense and this, but then it's okay for trees to talk and laugh and cry. Because both of these things make no sense in the real world. You see, you can't have on one hand, you can't be very critical when it comes to other religions, but have double standards when it comes to your own. You must have one set of standards, and you must put Islam to that test as well. Then you are true in your faith. Right? So Because otherwise, you just, when you're speaking to Christians, why are you saying, oh, this 3 gods and one makes no sense? Why does it make no sense? Because, oh, but it doesn't add up. Oh, but what, a tree crying adds up? So why is it you can accept things, but you can't accept things there? So my point is that, look, have one set of standards. I'm sorry, but this, you know, the fact that the tree had, it could reason, it could understand what was going on, it could cry, it could do these things. It doesn't add, this is a fairy tale kind of religion that you're creating. And then I said, okay, put that aside, now let's look at the chains. And I problematized the chains and showed that they had problems to them. So anyway, this channel called the Sunni Defense, right? The Sunni Defense channel, who are a channel dedicated to refuting the Shia. They decided to suspend their day job of refuting the Shia and focus on me. So one of the major comments in that whole post to them was that, guys, isn't this channel dedicated to the refutation of Shia? So why are you guys focusing on Mufti Abu Layth? Because this is absurd. Because they said, like, you guys, whether, in fact, somebody said this in the comments to them, that whether a tree cried or not is irrelevant. People are accusing Aisha radiallahu anha of being a prostitute and things like this. And instead of you guys focusing your attentions on refutations, what you guys claim to be set up for, you're too busy obsessing over Mufti Abu Layth because he has different opinions. So this is the key point. Did miracles exist? I have explained this on several occasions before, that I believe that yes, miracles they're like a spectrum. Okay, so miracles did exist, but what do miracles mean? I don't believe there was ever a miracle that defies God's laws. So Allah would not set about laws and then defy his own laws. That would be absurd. So yes, things which would be very rare events could happen, but they would always have an explanation and a means through nature and the laws of physics for them. So that whether we know them or not, but they would have asbab, causes, because the dunya is a daru asbab. So now coming to this hadith, so these people said this. Now the Sunni Defense team, these 3 stooges, if I can call them, right, they go about kind of arguing against me, about me criticizing these chains. And I want to say here, these people, I assume them to be Salafis, I could be wrong, but this whole Salafi movement, the Salafis rose on the back of this sympathy, you see, of like, that, you see, of trying to say, don't look at tradition, don't look at numbers, it's not a numbers game, it's the truth, try to look at the evidence, try to be objective. They cried these claims for years. The Salafi movement began as an iconoclastic movement. It rejected tradition. And I personally respected that about the Salafis, that they had the courage to rise against the masses and to question things. I personally respect that, because it takes a lot of courage to do that. Then what do you know? No sooner do they become an established, so first of all, they rejected the 4 schools of Sunni jurisprudence and completely made up their own things. Then they went even further. The mainstream, entire Muslim ummah almost believed in a certain belief, like whether they were Ash'ari, Maturidi, stuff like this. They went against them and adopted this Hanbali Aqidah, this kind of literalist, dogmatic views in creed. They went against everybody. You told them, oh, but what about Ibn Hajar? Said, oh, it doesn't matter. What about Ibn Salah? No, it doesn't matter. What about Imam Nawawi? Oh, it doesn't matter. What about Qadi Ismail? Oh, it doesn't matter. What about... It doesn't matter. We have to go with evidence. We have to go with objectivity. We have to go with... And no sooner do they become an established kind of group that they themselves resort to that same kind of dogmatic numbers game. So they become the kind of oppressor that they try to rise against. This is just typical of any... You see these movements that try to remove despotic kind of tyrants. Eventually, the people that take over just become despots and tyrants themselves. This is like... History repeatedly shows us this. So the Salafis who began with these sympathies today have just become the same thing themselves. They've become the very Frankenstein that they tried to warn against. So it's shocking. So okay, now my next point is Ilmul Rijal, this science of... Alright, we've got Ustad Abdul Rahman Murphy in the house. Ahlan wa sahlan, Ustad, ahlan wa sahlan. Right now, this Ilmul Rijal is the science of critiquing people in these chains. Our first point is, did this come from God? Is this divine? Or is this man-made? If it is from Allah and His Messenger, which it isn't, everybody knows that the critiquing the chains of Asanid comes through men. Then in that case, it will always be susceptible to improvement. You can always work on it. People can always disagree on it. People that come later can have different opinions on it. It is not a divine science. It is something that men have come up with. Then I want to add another point, and this is important. They say, oh, he critiqued things like Bukhari and stuff like this. Well, you see, Albani criticized Bukhari. Albani, okay, criticized several hadith in Bukhari, probably just close to a dozen or so, and classed them as weak and rejected them. Amongst them, the hadith of Ibn Abbas, which is in Sahihain, where he says Maymuna, his aunt married the Prophet during ihram, a state of ihram, is an unacceptable hadith. Now these kind of things, because it's false, so these kind of things Albani and other people reject it. Oh, it's okay when they do it. Along comes another person, criticizes a hadith in Bukhari. All of a sudden that must be wrong. He must be a deviant. So that's one point I wanted to make clear. The other thing is, looking at their criticisms, I'll go through some of these. I'll try to just address them just by going through them, and then we'll move on. I do want to address what is important is this marriage of Safiya radiallahu anha to the Prophet, and how that's being misconstrued by non-Muslims and unfortunately Muslims. So people do share this, get this out there, click like, click share. Those of you just tuning in, click like, click share. Ustad Yasin is in the house. All right. Click like, click share, get this out there, people. Let's share some of this. All right. Now, right, so now I'm trying to focus. I know there's some questions coming in about miracles and stuff like this. I've mentioned that all the miracles in the Quran, first of all, firstly, the way you may have understood them may not have been how all the Salaf understood them. So there's actually a huge difference on how the Salaf understood those miracles. What you have had today has been a standardized view over time. Now, there's many other views that belong to the Salaf of this ummah, that just because they didn't reach you or you don't know about them doesn't mean they don't exist. So to start off with, okay, so that's examples, and there's many things. And the other thing is that miracles, when they did happen, they had asbab, they had causes to them, and we can call them miracles, but they would not go against God's law of nature. Right, now, let's stay focused. So this refutation these people did, so they began by saying, okay, Mufti Abu Layth's attack on the Sunnah. And what did I say in my speech, in my kind of lecture? I said that the school of Medina, Imam Malik, differentiates between Hadith and Sunnah. We wholeheartedly embrace the Sunnah. We are critical when it comes to Hadith. So there is a difference. And I said the Shafi'i and the Salafis, and these people don't differentiate. But the Hanafi madhab did, and Imam Malik's madhab did. So first of all, them saying Mufti Abu Layth attacks the Sunnah. I mean, what a kind of retarded, misleading kind of way to just attack somebody. At least have some dignity in your approach. Secondly, they say that, oh, I misquote Imam Malik. Imam Malik has never rejected any hadith. He's rejected several hadith. Several hadith Imam Malik rejected when they were presented to him. And yes, on many occasions they were Amalu Ahl Madina. He said that, but what did that mean? The practice of the people didn't reflect the hadith. And in some examples, like the dog licking the bowl, and Imam Malik says, لَقَدْ جَاءَ هَذَا الْخَبَرُ لَقَدْ جَاءَ هَذَا الْخَبَرُ وَلَا نَدْرِي مَا حَقِيقَتُهُ. He says, but we don't know what it's on about. So they say, where did Imam Malik? There you go. That is a famous incident. And there's many others like that. But anyway, let's stay focused. So they try to say that in this, Mufti Abu Layth has said, one of the first key points they bring out, he is showing weakness in these hadith, but he's making out that all the muhaddithin are in agreement with him. What nonsense! What utter nonsense! I have not made out that all the muhaddithin were with me. In fact, I very clearly stated, I said that there is a difference of opinion on this. And why do I have to go with other people? I'm going with, when I quoted Abu Hatim al-Razi or these people, I said I'm going with him. Why do I have to go with who you go with? Why? You know, when it comes to fiqh, you tell me, oh, don't blind follow, don't go with them. When it comes to aqidah, you say don't go with the majority. Oh, but I say, look, the majority of the theologians all said this, the majority of the scholars of this ummah. Oh, don't go with majority. When it comes to hadith, go with majority. Why should I go with majority? Why? I mean, why is this a democracy all of a sudden? So that is the first point, okay? So I never said that. And watch my clip. I actually make it very clear that they disagreed on this. And I am going with this person. Then they quote things like, he says on one point in this refutation, he brings up a hadith with the Rawi, that Ibn Ayman al-Habashi, and he quotes me saying that Abu Dhahabi said that he was majhul, fihi jahala. And then first of all he says, I don't know, and there's a few of them, and one of them is Googling it. And he says, oh, I found it. Yeah, he's right. He does say it. And he says, well, وَثَّقَهُ Abu Zur'a. And Abu Zur'a says that he's reliable. And then this guy says, have you seen how Mufti Abu Layth, or Abu Layth, decided to hide that part? First of all, have some shame. I actually quoted it, god damn it. This is the irony. What? These people look at their own transmissions. Da'if. That is weak. I actually said in my video clip, I said, and even if people like Abu Zur'a said that, but here Dhahabi is saying this. I actually said that. So to come and say, oh, but why didn't he mention Abu Zur'a's name? I actually said it, goddammit. I said even if Abu Zur'a said that. So at least pay some goddamn attention when you're listening to me, right? Rather than just making all these things up. Right, so then he says, oh, and this is how they do this. They're asking each other, so what do you think? What do you think? Is this hadith sahih? And the guy says, oh, I think it is sahih. Oh, well, bloody thank you very much. Oh, do you now? You think it's sahih? Oh, oh my, rather. I bet. Before you, Imam Bukhari thought it was sahih. Who the hell are you? I don't give a damn about you. Imam Bukhari said it was sahih. I know people have said it's sahih. This has already been said as sahih. I know it's sahih. I'm showing you the illah according to other muhaddithin. I'm saying other people have said it's da'if. Oh, do you, so would you, brother Abu Fulan, would you say this is sahih? Oh, certainly. Oh, rather. I would say this is sahih. Well, I don't care what you would think. You know, what is that supposed to mean? Why is your opinion more valuable than mine? Of course it isn't. Hell no it isn't. So that was his whole point, was like, let's ask the other guy. So do you think this is? Oh, I think this is definitely so. And then he comes out with, I think the hadith from the Prophet of Jabir is mutawatir. Through Jabir alone. Mutawatir means that something has so many transmissions that it's impossible to be a lie. Right? From the Prophet through Jabir. Jabir is one person. How can that be bloody mutawatir? God damn. Let alone mutawatir. This isn't even sahih. This isn't even authentic. And then he goes on to say, well, okay, you know, it's interesting. Abu Layth didn't mention the other ahadith. He didn't bring the other chains. Oh, rather. So let's see. What are these other chains? And you know what's funny is that when they overdo the Arabic accent. Qadi, yeah, you know, Qadi, brother, please, you know, the Abu Layth, you know, I don't know, you know, please, the pronunciation, you know, I don't know the P, you know, I live in this place, you know, in this United States, but I don't know the B, you know, I can't pronounce it, you know. Somehow that's supposed to lend more authenticity to them. Hilarious. Yeah, what is it with some of these kind of people with their Arabic obsession? You know, it's like listening to them, the overdoing it so much. You think, yeah, when you're listening to them, am I supposed to do wudu or something? Or what are the etiquettes to listen to these people? Right, so okay, he quotes a chain. Check this out now. Right, let me bring some of these chains up that he brings. Okay, now he brings a chain. He says that, oh, I'm surprised that Mufti Abu Layth left the more authentic narrations when it came to Anas radiyallahu anh. And he says the more authentic narrations from Anas was this one from Hammad ibn Salama, from Thabit, from Anas. Now, first of all, he actually misses out the complete chain, but okay, I'll let that slide. Don't worry about it, yaar. Don't worry about it. Let's focus on what you're actually saying. I don't do petty. You see, unlike you guys, I don't do petty. Ruthless maybe, but not petty. So I'm going to let that slide. The fact that you didn't quote the full chain. Let's go with what you quoted. Okay. He says, oh, in Ibn Majah and some of these other riwayat, Hammad ibn Salama from Thabit, from Anas. Whoa. this is the most authentic, this is the most authentic narrations we can get from Anas. And people have said that, when it comes to Anas, Thabit is the most reliable of people. This is what they say. So let's take a look. Hammad ibn Salama, a great muhaddith. اختلط في آخر عمره. اختلط. His memory became bad. Towards the end of his lifetime, memory became bad. Al-Uqayli transmits from Ali al-Madini, who transmits from Yahya ibn Sa'id. He says that he used to teach قبل الاختلاط وبعد, and after اختلاط, after having messed up his memory. ولا يفصل هذا من ذاك. He didn't used to differentiate people couldn't differentiate from his teachings which were from before his memory got messed up and which were from after. Hammad! We have problem, my friend. Problem, my friend. First problem in the chain. So Hammad from Thabit. Right, so he's saying Thabit. And Thabit too. اختلط في آخر عمره. Right? Ayyub al-Sakhtiyani wouldn't even take his hadith. Right? So just to begin with, Ayyub al-Sakhtiyani wouldn't take his hadith. Ibn Adi transmits that. And then, right, so and one point here, he said Thabit is the most reliable person from Anas. This is what he said. So let's see what the scholars had to say about that. What did Abu Dawood say when he was asked who is the most reliable person from Anas? He said, it's Qatada, not Thabit. Then he said you can accept Thabit. What did Abu Hatim al-Razi say? He said it's Zuhri. Then who? Then Qatada. Then who? Then you can take from Thabit. Okay. What about the su'alat of Abu Ja'far al-Baghdadi when he's speaking of Ahmad ibn Hanbal being asked who is athbatun nas from Anas? Who is the most reliable source from Anas? And then he says, is it Thabit or Humayd al-Tawil? He says Yahya ibn Sa'id would say that Thabit ikhtalata, his memory got messed up, but Humayd al-Tawil is athbat. So look at this chain. Hammad ibn Salama. By the way, this Hammad ibn Salama, who I've shown that ikhtalata fi akhiri umri, his memory got messed up. Muslim was very kind of scrupulous when he would look at his chains. He would accept certain hadith from him only as supportive measures. And Bukhari left him altogether. Bukhari does not transmit from Hammad ibn Salama because of this issue. Right? So Hammad from Thabit from Anas. And Thabit is not the most reliable person from Anas. So there you go, my friend. This chain, hay problema, mi amigo. This is problemas. So this is not, this is a unanimously agreed upon sanad. Where is it a unanimously agreed upon chain? Right, so that was his first, he brings this chain. Right, okay, then he goes on to say, well, okay, he brings another chain. Right, now he goes back to Jabir. They bring these chains to say, Mufti Abu Layth left these chains out. And the chain is, Yahya ibn Adam says, حدثنا إسرائيل عن أبي إسحاق عن سعيد ibn Abi Karb عن Jabir ibn Abdullah. Okay. First of all, right, Ibn Ma'in transmits from Yahya ibn Sa'id al-Qattan that he would not accept Israel and would consider him da'if. And what did Ali al-Madini also say about Israel? Da'if. Da'if. So there's Israel, but let's go further in the chain. Sa'id ibn Abi Karb. Ali ibn Madini says that لم يروي عنه غير أبي إسحاق وهو مجهول. He is an unknown person. We do not accept him. We do not accept him, people. And even Muslim put him in his tafarrudat, right? He mentions him in his book al-Munfaridat from those people who other people did not transmit from. So he only has Abu Ishaq transmit from him. But let's not stop there. Then they bring another chain. They say, here's one of the most solid chains. One of the most solid chains. Right? So what is one of the most solid chains? Abdul Razak from Ibn Jurayj, from Abu Zubayr, from Jabir radiallahu an. Nice. Or rather, this one not nice. Now you're playing games. So this is where they say, this is where there's that dialogue that गेम अच्छी खेली आपने बस आदमी गलत चुना. You know, you played it well, you just chose the wrong opponent, that's all. Acha baba puttar, or shall I say buttar. Isma. Listen up, escúchame, listen to me. Right, let's take a look at this sanad. Beginning with Abdul Razzaq as-San'ani. Allah, aye, baithiye, listen to me. What does Ibn Hibban say about Abdul Razzaq? وَكَانَ مِمَّنْ يُخْطِئ. And he was from those people who would make mistakes, especially if he relied upon his memory. Right, Abu Hatim says, we write his hadith, وَلَا يُحْتَجُّ بِهِ. We do not take him as an evidence. Allah. And Nasa'i mentions him from the du'afa. Allah, Allah. Nasa'i is mentioning him from the du'afa, and he says, وَفِيهِ النَّظَرِ. And Dhahabi says in his Mizan, رُوِيَ عَنْهُ أَحَدِيث مَنَاكِيرِ. And Imam Ahmad in the Ilal, in the Sharh of Ilal, mentions that he would transmit certain things from him that were actually mawdu', including the Sahifa, which is a well-known Sahifa. Right, so this is another, so that's Abdul Razzaq as-San'ani. Let's take a look at Ibn Jurayj. Allah, Ibn Jurayj. Let's take a look at George. And these are great people, but I'm just transmitting the kalam. Dar Qutni, what does Dar Qutni say about him? Qabih. He says that he is Qabih al-Tadlis. Right? And Dhahabi says that he needs to say Haddathani for us to accept his riwayat. Now, they're going to say, oh, but in this chain, he says Akhbarani. He says Akhbarani Abu Zubayr. So let's take a look at that. I knew you were going to bring this one. So let's see. What does Ali al-Madini say from Yahya ibn Sa'id al-Qattan? That when Ibn Jurayj, إذا قال Ibn Jurayj أخبرني فهو لا شيء. It is nothing. He is trying it. Because when he says أخبرني, he means he just had the books. What does Shu'bah say? Shu'bah says, I used to sit and watch Ibn Jurayj come with just books and say to people like Zuhri and other people, I'm just going to transmit these from you, okay? And they would say, okay. And Shu'bah would be like, I used to think, what the hell? So when he says Akhbarani, he's referring to just the book, not the sanad. This is why Dhahabi says he has to say Haddathani. And let's take a look at Abu Zubayr. Shu'bah, what does Shu'bah say about him? He says he used to make things up about people he didn't like. Allah! Da'if! Da'if! Right, so Ibn Uyayna and Ayyub al-Sakhtiyani considered him da'if. Right? Abu Zur'a, Imam Shafi'i, Abu Hatim, and even Bukhari said, La yuhtajju bih, da'if. Right, so people, there go your chains flying out the window. Right? Where are they unquestionably conclusive that you claim? Where are they conclusive? And you know what he said? He tried to criticize one of my... I was speaking about a chain in Bukhari, and he said, about Ismail, where Bukhari is transmitting from Ismail ibn Abi Uwais from his brother, right, Abu Bakr, or Abdul Hamid Abu Bakr is his kunya. And he says that, that's not true. Yahya ibn Ma'in considered him to be sahih. So first of all, let's just take a look. So he criticizes my criticism. The book, people, the Sharh of the Ilal of Tirmidhi. This one, please, this way, please, my friend. We listen to this one, please. Right, so, yes, he does transmit that there is that opinion of Yahya ibn Ma'in, saying that some people said Yahya ibn Ma'in accepted him, but other people, he tried it, this one not nice, So what does Yahya ibn Ma'in say? As a principle, Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali is transmitting from him that thalathatu abiyat, that these three houses, abiyat here is used as biyut, as the plural of bayt, that in the Yahya ibn Ma'in, min asharril qawm, they are from the worst of people. The household of Ibn Qahdam and his child, wa Ali ibn Asim and his child, wa alu Abi Uwais kulluhum, alu Abi Uwais kulluhum, the entire family, kanu indahu bi'afa, kanu indahu bi'afa, not كانوا عنده ضعيفا جدا. He says ضعافة, plural of weak, okay, so you can say ضعفاء, but in Arabic you can say ضعافا as well. But these guys, obviously, they know that, Arabs, they, please, pay attention, this one. فكانوا عنده ضعافة. Remember that, Baba. And these people, I tell you, so this was their pathetic kind of refutation of me, bringing ahadith that are not sound themselves. And then they have the audacity, these people, then they mock me, and check this out. This is how low they fall. This is how low they fall. They said, right, they said that, Mufti, he's picking up these points, but what's the issue? They said that, what's the issue? He's trying to say we should condemn this blasphemy, condemn that blasphemy about the Prophet. And check this out. They say, they go on to affirm these blasphemous things about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and say, what's the issue? Now check this out. I'm going to play this here.
He said is that the Prophet, he said, you guys believe that the Prophet was so incapable that a Jew put black magic on him. Which is...
Now listen to this.
And here's the irony. I think it's very ironic that he starts his videos by talking about Muslims not believing in superstition, and Muslims, being rational, logical beings who are, who basically...
Now I want you to pay attention to this. In their intercourse. Rational in their intercourse.
The thing is, what's ironic is that he ends up rejecting historical reports that emphasize the Prophet's human nature just because of his own dogmatic theology. He's basically rejecting the evidence that emphasizes the human nature of the Prophet. I mean, what's wrong with the Prophet ﷺ getting sick and getting sexually impotent? Really, is that like a criteria for him being a prophet? That he's, sexually active and sexually, capable? I don't see how that is a problem, for example. His marriage from Aisha, anha.
Did you hear that? He said that what is wrong with the Prophet being sexually impotent? That is, these are his, this is on YouTube. That's at, I think is it 48 minutes into it? He says that what is wrong with the Prophet being sexually impotent? So what? The Prophet doesn't have to be sexually active. How disgusting. Wallahi, these people stoop this low to prove a point, that they attack, insult the Messenger of God. If somebody said that to their own father, they would be offended. They go, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? They quote Qadi Iyad. Qadi Iyad and the Maliki madhab, they say, they say Mufti Abu Layth doesn't support things like capital punishment. Okay, I don't. And they're quoting the Maliki madhab. The Maliki madhab would consider that worthy of capital punishment. Like this is the level that, if they have this issue of mind with blasphemy and they want to support these laws, they themselves have been incredibly blasphemous. So rude and disrespectful to the Prophet. Right? This is just ridiculous. That what is wrong with the Prophet being sexual? Of course it's wrong. Because it's not true. It's an attack on the honor of the Prophet. What is wrong with you? Why can't you see that? Why are you so blinded with this kind of Wahhabi kind of lens that you've got in front of you? And I'm not attacking all Wahhabis or Salafis, but people with that mentality, whoever they are, if you have seriously, if you can say these kind of things about the Prophet, it is true that you have no respect for him. It doesn't matter what your words say. So this is the truth. These people, they come out like, oh, we're here, we want to defend Bukhari, we want to defend the opinions of this, we want to defend the opinion. But when it comes to the honor of the Prophet, it doesn't matter all of a sudden. It's like, yes, so what? He says in this, so what if the Prophet married a 9-year-old? So what do you mean, so what? If we found your dad with a 10-year-old girl, would that be okay? If your dad said, oh, but she consented. What on earth are you on about consent, you sick, disgusted, kind of perverted person? What do you mean consented? Why are you saying this about the Prophet of God? It is not true. I've shown how those hadith have got problems in them. Right? Why do you keep feeding this kind of nonsense to the far right? And they go, yeah, but so what? So what? They said on the, the Prophet became clumsy, but so what? This was magic, because he's a human being. Human beings can become clumsy. What the hell is wrong with you? Oh my God. Just to prove that you are right, get out of your goddamn ego. Just to prove your point that you are right, you are prepared to throw the Prophet under the bus. That, so what? He's a human, he can be clumsy. What do you mean? So why are you saying these things? Like, I don't understand why you're saying these things. So this is the kind of nonsense that we have, and this is what people do. And I'm not saying that these people don't have some twisted, sick sincerity to them. They may have some kind of sick sincerity to them. I'm not here to judge their sincerity. But what I am here to tell them is that is messed up, man. That your attitudes towards the Prophet of Islam are very disturbing. So I'm just going to leave that thing there. I want to move on to this other thing which is linked to this. And that is this claim of the Prophet, around the circumstances of how the Prophet married his wife, who was of Jewish ancestry. Safiya radiallahu anha. Now, there's a video that went viral of Tommy Robinson and some of the far right that keep using this point. Those of you just tuning in, I want you to click like, click share. I want you to get this out there because I want people to have access to this. Right, so there's this video out there where some Muslim is debating, he's chasing Tommy Robinson to debate him. And Muslims do this, and I want to ask you, right, look, please, for the love of God, don't do these things. Right, leave it. Honestly, you are not that capable. And I respect that you guys might do a lot of good things. People might do a lot of good things. I respect that. But these issues, you do Islam much more harm than you do good. You know, your 5-minute fame of like, wow, I attacked I confronted a far right person, right? And Muslims are going to all clap for you and like, kiss your behind, right? This is no good. Because the harm you are doing Islam is so outweighs this. Right? Honestly. So in this discussion, the first thing this person asks him, is it true that the Prophet, after murdering the father and the husband of Safiya, took her as his own and had her on that night? Is this true? And this guy says, yes, so. Wow. Wow. I am genuinely lost for words. What do you mean, yes, so? And then he says, back to Tommy Robinson, and this is just one example. He says, but where does it say in the books that he raped her? Are you for real? If I got a woman who's just been married, killed her husband according to this narration in front of her, killed her father, dragged her away as my slave, and had sex with her that night, I really doubt that is going to be a sense of romantic passion between the two of us. Of course that's going to be goddamn rape. What do you think she's going to do? So what do you mean? Where does it say that's rape? That is not what happened. Why are you conceding to that? Why are you accepting this and allowing them to circulate this nonsense? So, right, so first of all, so I want to make that point clear that, look, please, these issues are intricate issues. The issue of Islamic history is intricate because there's so much nonsense that's being transmitted. There's truth as well, there's nonsense as well. Don't just, if you haven't studied Islam, don't go out there being the voice of Islam. Right, just back out a bit. Let your ego take a little hit. It's okay. And then he affirms, yes, so what that Aisha was 9 years old? She was developed. What the hell? What do you mean developed? What kind of a sick response is that? Developed 9-year-old. What do you mean? This is the Prophet of God. If this was any other man, you would condemn it. So you're saying it's okay for your Prophet to do all these things. So I have answered in detail. I have made an elaborate video about the age of Aisha. So watch it. And seriously, what disappoints me is that some of these people have seen it. And they do know this narrative. But they still refuse to, and they want to toe this kind of, this anti-Islamic, Islamophobic narrative of the Prophet marrying a child. And I find that blasphemous. I'm going to be honest with you. But now let's get back to this point of this issue about Safiya. Right now, Safiya radiallahu an, now just to give you some background, she was a Jewish woman from a tribe of from Bani Nadir that lived in a place called Khaybar. and her father was one of the chief people, right? So his name is Huyay ibn Akhtab. Huyay ibn Akhtab. And he had met the Prophet before on a few occasions. He was one of the most kind of vile people against the Prophet. What's interesting is his brother Abu Yasir embraced Islam very early on and still lived with them in Khaybar. And Abu Yasir embraced Islam, and he actually would often plead with them and about Islam, you know, stop misrepresenting Islam and stuff like this. Now, the Battle of Khaybar takes place. There's some disagreement, like as there always is. There's nothing. Listen to one point. Let's get one point clear. Nothing is concrete in Islamic history. There's differences on everything. So there's disagreement on when the Battle of Khaybar took place. Let's go with a mainstream, a popular view of it was in 7 Hijri, the 7th Hijri. Some say Imam Malik said it was in 6th Hijri, but either way, 7 Hijri. Now it happens after Hudaybiyah because these were the huge fronts that were threatening the civilization in Medina. So when you had the Battle of Ahzab and stuff like this, people who got all these tribes, the coalition against, to kind of demolish and wipe out everybody, you know, man, woman and child in Medina, but they failed. The key people behind this were like the Quraysh in Mecca. They were these people from Khaybar, Bani Nadir. Now Bani Nadir had also family in Bani Qurayza, and so they had got Bani Qurayza onto it. So Bani Qurayza were to attack when the trenches, and that's a whole different topic. You can listen to that another time or do your research on it. And so the whole Muslim civilization had been under threat by these key powers. Now, in the battle of not the battle, but in the treaty of Hudaybiyah, the Prophet had a treaty with the people in Mecca that they would have a peace treaty. So once he had a bit of security from them, because of the constant threat from Khaybar, he did go to Khaybar. And they vary. Some people say it was only the people, popularly, they say it was only the people of Hudaybiyah that went to Khaybar. They go to this place for battle. Now, there was something like 1,400 people, some Muslims, some say there were 1,500, 1,600. They were around that kind of amount. Now, Khaybar was in fortresses. Now, the Arabs never normally had fortresses. So they weren't used to how to battle with fortresses. So these people had fortresses, and they had 8 key fortresses, 5 spaced out, then 3 separate behind. And these were, I'm just giving you a little picture, and this is where the battle kind of takes place. It's one fortress at a time. Now, anyway, moving fast forwarding on to this point. The battle, the Muslims eventually win the battle. It's a very difficult kind of thing. It lasts several weeks. Eventually, the Muslims do win it. Several Muslims are killed. I think over 80 Muslims get killed during this battle. Amongst them, there's a famous companion, Muhammad ibn Maslama. His brother, Mahmud ibn Maslama, is killed by Safiya's father or by Safiya's husband, and there's a difference of opinion. And arguably, he is the person who retaliates. But at the end of this, amongst the people, Safiya leaves with the Muslims and goes. Now, I want us to pause here. Okay. Right. I want to now tell you what the narrative that is being pushed around is, and then what the truth is. Okay, so I gave you the background, and inshallah in the future maybe I'll do a detailed video on this. But right now, for us to have an understanding, so this is now the narrative that is being pushed even by several Muslims, unfortunately. That the Prophet, after being victorious, brought out Kinana was her husband, and he was obviously one of the key people, and her father Huyay, and had them tied up and executed. She was dragged out, and then there's some variations. Some people say she was taken as spoils of war. So, and she was given to this person called Dihya al-Kalbi. And these narrations that I'm telling you now are not true, but I'm telling you this is what people push. This is the narrative, right? So she was taken by Dihya al-Kalbi, and then the Prophet took her from him because she was known to be so beautiful. She was so beautiful that the Prophet took her from Dihya al-Kalbi and said to her, look, why don't you marry me? Or, like, you've got a choice. Like, you can either be a slave or you can marry me. And she says, okay, I'll marry you. And then the Prophet, in some narrations, consummates that marriage, is intimate with her, according to some people, that night after, or whatever, a few nights later. These are the kind of stories being pushed around. And also, she is hateful of the Prophet in the beginning. In some, she says, oh, I detest you. And stuff like this in some narrations. Now, all of these things are nonsense, people. These are all rubbish. Right, now let me get to the true narrative. The truth is that we have a lot of narrations, a lot, and we've got several in Bukhari, we've got several in other books. Almost all of these narrations to do with this marriage of Safiya come predominant, almost all of them. I mean, there may be one or two other ones, otherwise generally they all come through just Anas radiallahu an. Only Anas is transmitting this story. Okay. There is so much conflict and ittirab. What the muhaddithin call ittirab is when narrations conflict so massively, none of them are reliable. Okay. Now, there's so much ittirab in this story from Anas. They're all from Anas, and the conflicting narrations are in Bukhari. They conflict with each other. They're in Bukhari, they're in the books of Ibn Ishaq, they're in the books of the Tabaqat, in the Tariq books, in other things. They're there. They're all there, and they all conflict. So, let's take a look at the kind of we're going to take a look at the kind of conflicts that we're dealing with. Now, what I believe is that in these narrations, there are some truths lying somewhere that have over time been distorted. Okay, because they can't all be true. They're all conflicting. They're all kind of making, they don't add up. So there may be some truths, but somewhere along the line, some people have distorted this. They've made mistakes. Some people have been forgetful. Some people have done riwaya bil ma'na, interpreted things according to meaning. Anas radiallahu an was one of the longest, one of the oldest one of the companions to reach such an old age. So when this incident is happening, he is around, maybe he's a teenager, maybe 16 years old, something like that. Okay, when this incident is happening. He is the one transmitting all these stories. He dies in 93 Hijri, okay, which means he dies having lived over 100 years of age. So he's one of the most, one of the companions with the most kind of longest lived lives, if you like that died with such seniority in age, that he lived over 100 years. Now, so along the way, you can imagine whether it comes from him, that people taking it from him over old age, or they're transmitting with meaning, or people are putting their own kind of interpretations into this, and people are transmitting the story, and they're transmitting it on from them, and they're transmitting it on from them, right down to Bukhari himself, who's hearing this and transmitting. And Bukhari himself, by the way, transmits with meaning. He's one of the scholars that transmits with meaning. So when he is asked, Bukhari himself says that, oh, the ahadith I used to listen to in Basra, I would write them in Baghdad. And the ones I heard in Baghdad, I would write in Misr, in Egypt. And the person asks him, bikamalihi, what, the whole of it? And he says, thumma sakat. He just went quiet, because it's impossible to write the whole thing. So it's important to understand these. Now let's take a look. So there's tafarrud, first of all. with Anas. Anas is the key person to transmit all these riwayat. Now these riwayat, here are some of the conflicts. Some of them say she was a slave girl and stayed a slave. Some of them say no, she was a free person, so the Prophet took her as a slave girl. Some of them say the Prophet married her. Okay. Some of them say that no, she was given to Dihya al-Kalbi, who the Prophet took her from. Some of these riwayat say that, oh, Dihya al-Kalbi said, I want to take a different slave girl with her. Another narration says, no, he never said that. He said, oh, you can buy her using certain cattle and things like this, 7 sab'at ru'us he took in place. Then, and these are all narrations coming like from places like Bukhari and stuff like this, all conflicting. Some of them say, well, okay, the Prophet then married her in a place called the Saddur Roha. Some of them say, no, he married her in a place called Saddur Sahba, in a different place altogether. Right, okay. Some of them say, no, he didn't marry her until he got to Medina. Some of these narrations say the Prophet and these people came back from Khaybar directly, without any delay, they came to Medina. Other narrations say, no, they came from a different place called Usfan. They'd gone to Usfan instead, and they came back from Usfan. Okay. Some of them, these narrations say, oh, the Prophet consummated his marriage from that night. Some of them say, no, a few nights later. Some of them say, no, until he didn't get back to Medina. Okay. Now, some of these narrations say, how did she come to the Prophet? Some people say they caught her in the fortress. Other people say no, in the narrations, no, they caught her she was in the street and she came herself. I'm just trying to show you contradictions in what are authentic narrations. Those of you just tuning in, if you can click like, click share, get this out there. Then I'm going to explain what is the true narrative and how these things got messed up. Some of these narrations say she used to actually fancy the Prophet. That this is before she even became Muslim. Some of them say no, she hated him on the day and said, I don't want to be married to you. Some of them say she didn't embrace Islam, some of them straight away. Some of them say she did embrace Islam straight away. Some of them say that, she may have been upset, let's say, if you want to accept those narrations by Ibn Ishaq about her husband being killed. Some of them say she was beaten black and blue by her husband, and the Prophet actually asks her about that, and I'll explain a bit about that. Now, so I'm just trying to take a look at some of these things. Okay. Now you can see the kind of confusion going on, and these are all narrated by the same person. That they're coming from this place, no, they're coming from that place, no, they came straight away, no, they took their time, no, they didn't get married till they got back there, no, they did get married when they were there, no, she became Muslim, no, she didn't become Muslim till later on, no, she was still a slave girl, no, she wasn't a slave girl, she was a wife straight away, oh no, she did used to fancy the Prophet and she was like this story, no, she didn't like the Prophet at the day, no, she was held as a captive from inside the fortress and brought, no, she was actually already standing there, no, she was, right, so we've got a lot of nonsense, a lot of noise. Now people have to filter through. Now let me tell you what actually happened, people. Okay. I'd like you to click like, click share. First of all, what is very clear is Safiya leaves with the Muslims. This is clear. Fact. Safiya, at some stage in her life, does become the wife of the Prophet. That is a fact. We accept that. These two are facts. It's the things in between that have been mixed up. Now let me clarify this to you people. First of all, it is impossible that the Prophet married her then. Impossible. Why, you ask me? Right? He posted no evidence, right? Okay. Why is it impossible? Because it clearly goes against the Quran. Clearly goes against the Quran. Right? Her husband did die in that battle. And that he was one of the chief people, and obviously it was a battle. So he did die, there's no denying that. And he had murdered the brother of Muhammad ibn Maslama, whose name was Mahmud ibn Maslama, and it was Muhammad ibn Maslama who killed him in retaliation for his brother. Now the husband had died, okay, fine. So she's a widow. What does the Quran say about widows? وَالَّذِينَ يَتَوَفَّوْنَ مِنْكُمْ, and those who die amongst you, وَيَذَرُونَ أَزْوَاجًا, and their wives are left behind, يَتَرَبَّصْنَ بِأَنفُسِهِنَّ, that they must sit an iddah, أَرْبَعَةَ أَشْهُرٍ وَعَشْرًا, they must sit an iddah of 4 months and 10 days. فَإِذَا بَلَغْنَ أَجَلَهُنَّ فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْهِ, that once they reach their ajal, they can get married. Allah has said that in the Quran. In the Quran. So the first assumption is that, are you saying the Prophet went against this clear verse in the Quran? So some people have tried to say, well, oh no, there was a hadith of Ghazwat Awtas, when the Prophet said, oh, if there was a female captive, she doesn't have to sit, a female captive can just sit an iddah of 1 menstrual cycle. First of all, that's absurd, because the Ghazwat Awtas hadn't even happened yet. It was going to happen 1 or 2 years after this event. Two, that was not speaking about widows. 3, there's problems in that chain to start off with. 4, even if you tried to take that understanding of a menstrual cycle, how could it be that same day that the Prophet marries her, or the next day, according to these stories? It doesn't make any sense. Are you telling me the Prophet himself does not know the Quran? And he's going against the Quran. So, okay, let's get that point. So the Prophet did not marry her there. So why are they thinking he married her? Let's go to one of the hadith that Anas transmits. This is once again Sahih. He says, we discussed, the companions, we discussed. What is the iddah for? The iddah can be for pregnancy, or it can be for a state of mourning. Right now, he says, we discussed. We saw Safiya go with the Prophet, and we discussed, has he married her? This is Anas saying. Because, by the way, nobody witnessed this nikah of the Prophet with Safiya. Nobody witnessed it. So the Prophet never had witnesses and things. Nobody witnessed it. So Anas in a Sahih, it says, we asked, so, is she going with him as a captive, or is he married to her? And then they see that the Prophet, she sits with the Prophet, and the Prophet, and I'm going to get to this, had given her something to cover with. So they assume, they say, because we saw her covered in a dignified way, she must be his wife. Now they stop at a location where they have a celebration. And Anas says, this must be the walima. Now let me pause here and go back to the incident, what's happened. When Khaybar collapses, and they had caused a lot of torment to the Muslims, and they had murdered several Muslims, and yes, her father, and because he was the chief person, one of the key rivals of the Prophet was her father, right? He does die in that battle, as does her husband, who is also a key person in that whole tribe. Now, what is known about Safiya, from before, her uncle, her father's brother Abu Yasir, had been Muslim for years. He had been a Muslim, Abu Yasir. He visits the Prophet. He is known to have supported the Prophet. He always spoke well of him. There are narrations, Sahih narrations, that Safiya did know about the Prophet. She used to speak well about him. In fact, she had been recently married to this chief for tribal reasons, who she says to him, I had a dream. And she says, in the dream, I saw a moon landing in my lap. She never mentions the Prophet's name or anything. What does... Right, what does... right, now, what does her husband say? Her husband, right, please don't distract too much in the comments. I'm going to block people if you are being too distractive. I did mention that there's a difference between the iddah of a widow and an iddah of a divorcee. That's obviously common basic knowledge. Everybody knows stuff like that. Right, okay, now, she tells her husband, I saw this moon land in my lap. What does her husband do? He says to her, you are obsessed with that Muhammad. She doesn't mention the Prophet Muhammad's name. He says, and he's the person you want to be with. And he punches her up so bad that she is actually bruised. In the hadith, Sahih hadith, once again, once the battle of Khaybar is over, she comes to the Prophet. وَعَيْنُهَا خَضِرَةٌ وَخَضِرَتْ عَيْنُهَا. Her eye is all green with bruises. And the Prophet asks her, wait, what happened to you? And she says, Kinana beat me up. And the Prophet asks her why. And she says, because I had this dream. Now, obviously, a lot is going on because there's a whole battle, everything has settled, things like this. People make disparaging comments about her. People say, oh, Yahudiya, Jewish woman, this, that. And the Prophet tells them off. He tells them off. This is in a Sahih Hadith. He tells them off. Some people held her as a captive. They wanted to hold her as a captive. The Prophet freed her. He did not marry her. He freed her. Now, because people were showing animosity towards her, the Prophet said to her, ride with me. Now this is, I know today some Muslims go kind of like, you know, they have like a taqwa attack and stuff like this. But there's several other hadith where the Prophet has gone on his camel and he's gone past Asma, the daughter of Abu Bakr, seen her walking, carrying, and he said, listen, why don't you get on the camel with me? Come with me. And she says, no, I don't want. These kind of things were common. That's a Sahih hadith about Asma. So the Prophet says to her that, listen, you ride with me. And it mentions in the hadith that yuhawwi laha, that al-aba'a, that he got a cloth and laid it out on the camel for her to sit, and it mentions he kind of bowed his knee. The Prophet, this is in a Sahih hadith, the Prophet bowed his knee and she stepped on his knee and climbed onto this camel. When people are being so rude to her, this was the akhlaq of the Prophet towards her. He did not marry her. He did not. He freed her, told them off from abusing her. Said to her, listen, why don't you ride with me? Because they were abusing her, because she was obviously a Jewish person. And they obviously just had this huge battle. And himself lowers for her to step on his knee and climb onto this camel. When in the Sahih Hadith, when they're coming back, they have an incident where the camel falls over and the Prophet hurts himself as well. And it's a well-documented incident. I mean, not severely, but he hurts himself. And she falls off. And what does the Prophet do? And remember, this is her in this kind of devastated state. The Prophet gets his cloak and puts it round her and covers her. This is in the Hadith. He did not marry her. Now they come back to Medina. Look at the way, the akhlaq that the Prophet had demonstrated towards her. She would have been naturally somebody in her iddah. The Prophet has not approached her. Anas is assuming, because she's riding with the Prophet, and because the Prophet is showing this, oh, maybe she's married to him. Because he says, we discussed, is she married to him? Is she his captive? What's going on? They don't know. When they stop at Saddus Roha, they mentioned during Khaybar, by the way, they laid siege to these fortresses. They were starving. Muslims were starving at some of the fortresses. They mentioned that they were because it was so difficult for them. They didn't have that much preparation. Now, even though they did get food and stuff, when they had conquered, when they stop at Saddu Rawha and Saddu Sahba, they have a feast for victories. They have some food. Now, Anas assumes, or the people transmitting assume, oh, is this because he got married? This is an assumption. This did not happen. There was no nikah that took place. It would have been haram. She was in her iddah anyway, and the Prophet had not, she hadn't even embraced Islam. It doesn't make any sense. But yes, she was sympathetic to the Prophet from before, because her uncle, who was very dear to her, loved the Prophet. And remember, she used to get beat up by her husband, because he used to assume that, oh, she took a liking to the Prophet. When she gets back to Medina, the Prophet told her, why don't you stay at such and such a person's house? She didn't live with the Prophet. She stayed with Sulaim and with other people in their house. This is what the books show. Now, in that time, even Aisha radiallahu anha and other people made some derogatory comments towards her. And the Prophet told them off. They said about, oh, that Jew. And the Prophet said, don't say that. What's wrong with you people? Why are you being like that towards her? Now, after this time, as time goes on, she does embrace Islam. She sees this kind of, because think about it, in this might of victory, the attitude of the Prophet towards her. Even when he saw her at Khaybar with a bruised eye, and he doesn't, amidst all this confusion, he asks her, hey, what happened to you? I mean, did one of the Muslims do this? And she says, no, it was my husband beat me up. Then saying, hey, come with me. Stay, because he saw some of them were mocking her. Then covering her when she fell off the camel. Giving her a place to stay. He did not marry. She does embrace Islam in time to come. In the months that followed, she does. And then she herself is interested in the Prophet, and they do get married. That is a fact. But it is inaccurate to assume that this all happened in one night in the Battle of Khaybar. It is absurd. Because there's no way she embraces Islam and does this, and she sits her iddah, and she does this, and she does that. It doesn't make any sense. So, these were some of the key points I wanted to mention. That, look, yes, it is true that she did marry the Prophet. But marriage requires consent in Islam. Everybody accepts that she married the Prophet. She would have had to consent to that. And Anas being the key transmitter, somebody who's 16 years old at the time, and people transmitting from him over his lengthy lifetime. These things have become subjected to interpretation. There were so many clashing narrations from Anas, countless, all contradicting each other. So what you have to do, and he does mention these things. Anas mentions, oh, I saw the Prophet lay out a cloth for her. I saw the Prophet put out his knee and she stepped on his knee. This is all Anas. Anas transmits that, oh, I saw that, that her eye was beaten up and the Prophet was talking to her. I saw this kind of stuff. And other people transmit some of these stories about Khaybar as well, these incidents. Now, what's interesting is when the Muslims get back, and they're celebrating, and they've got all these spoils of war, Abu Hurairah has arrived. And what does Abu Hurairah say? He transmits, and this is in the Muwatta of Malik and in Bukhari as well. He says from the Battle of Khaybar, they didn't bring anything. He says, مَا غَنِمُوا لَمْ يُغْنَمْ. There was not taken as spoils of war except illal ghanam wal baqar wal thiyab, except clothing, cows and sheep. He says no wealth, and he mentions no women. There was none of this captives and slaves and stuff like this. This is Abu Hurairah's hadith in the Muwatta of Imam Malik, in the Sahih al-Bukhari once again. So you need to look, as Muslims, we need to look at the greater picture. Yes, hadith come to us, there's many hadith. Sometimes they conflict, especially on historical accounts, because these things didn't get documented till generations later. So when it's something very important like this, you have to weigh it up against the teachings of the Quran to start off with. What does the Quran say? How it is impossible that the Prophet is preaching to people about iddah, women, widows have this iddah, but then himself is like, hey, take Safiya, it doesn't matter. That is impossible. It is impossible that she accepts, the Prophet is saying there is no compulsion in Islam, but then forces her to become Muslim. It is impossible that she lives with the Prophet happily and does all these things, and her husband's just been killed and he's been killed and she's been dragged away and all this, and that night she's been turned into a sex slave and stuff like this. It is impossible. Impossible. These kind of things cannot. It is impossible that all these things happen. All these narrations, which are all in books like Bukhari, and they all contradict each other. That, you know, no, this person has it. No, he buys it with this. No, he buys it with that. No, they stop here. No, they don't stop here. No, they celebrate here. No, they don't celebrate here. They get married straight away. No, they don't get married straight away. No, they marry in Medina. No, they marry in this place. You know, no, they can't all be, this is, yes, there's some truths, and you have to analyze these things. You have to understand that, look, all of them are only coming through Anas. One person is transmitting everything, and it's all conflicting. So, okay, we've got a problem. Why have we got a problem? Because it's impossible that that is the character of the Prophet. We have to be so wary how we teach and relay the Prophet's character. You cannot relay him like this, and it is a lie against the Prophet. I'm serious that when I watch these things, you know, even today, some Muslim just said to me, yes, so what? The Prophet gave her a choice. Embrace, you know, you can stay a slave, or I can free you and you can be my wife. And this was a scholar saying this to me today. Wallahi, it shocks me. That how can you think so low of the Prophet? And you say, yeah, but it doesn't matter. If the Prophet did it, it must be right. What do you mean if the Prophet wouldn't do something like that? Why are you projecting this nonsense onto the Prophet? He didn't do that. Why are you so quick to accept that? I mean, have you even analyzed what's going on? Have you even looked at the text? They conflict with each other. Why are you so quick to... That shows the Prophet... You're just saying, yes, so what if the Prophet was barbaric and just raped us? So what? But if he did it, it was okay. But he didn't do that. Why are you accepting this? And then to say, but show me the word rape is stupid. It's stupid. Because obviously the picture you're drawing is rape. There is no other picture. It doesn't, actions speak louder than words. So it is unacceptable to do these kind of things. And look, you wouldn't tolerate this for anybody else. Why teach it as the actions of the Prophet? Because it is, wallahi, it is not true. This is what I'm saying. So I am urging people, Muslims especially, please, for the love of God, do not transmit stories like that about the Prophet snatching Safiya, taking her, having her on that night. This is not true. You are degrading, you're throwing the Messenger of God off, his honor off a cliff. So have just pause and think for a moment what you are doing. Just think about it. These things, wallahi, they are not acceptable. They are not acceptable. If any other man was to do them, you would be up in arms. So why are you ascribing them to the Prophet? And you say, yeah, but it's in Bukhari. But there's so many conflicting narrations in Bukhari about this incident. And this incident only comes from one companion. You're telling me the Prophet got married and nobody but Anas knew? Only Anas knew that. And even Anas himself in Bukhari, in these narrations, is saying, oh, we weren't sure. Did he get married? Didn't he get married? Because there were no witnesses. So he says, I don't know. He says, let's wait. If he covers her up, then that means it's his wife. No, it doesn't mean that. That may have been an interpretation. So I hope, inshallah, this makes some sense, and we have to look afresh at things. People will say that, oh, I want to know all the scholars that have agreed with this understanding, this narrative before you. Look, we are not held to account by the understanding of people before us. They were amazing legends. They were great geniuses. But their own culture, their own age influenced their perception. To some people, they may have heard this story and thought, well, okay. Rather than questioning it, they may have thought, well, because 1,000 years ago, 1,200 years ago, the world was a brutal place. So they may have thought, oh, yeah, so it doesn't matter. But it does matter. So just because they didn't choose to question certain things, it doesn't mean that you turn a blind eye. We today are so desperately in need, wallahi, to review and revisit any attacks on Islam in light of our understanding. We need to do these things. Allah is addressing us in the Quran. أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ? Do you not have reason? Forget about them. What about you? Let me relay a story to you. You know, they say about Albert Einstein that in 1942 he was a professor in Oxford University, and he had a senior class of physics students, and he gave them an exam. And after the exam, his assistant said to him, you know, Professor, he said, am I not wrong in understanding that that was exactly the same exam you gave these students last year? And Einstein said, yes, it is. And he goes, well, Einstein, Professor Einstein, how can you do that? How can you do that? How can you give these senior physics students the same exam they had last year? And he said, oh, but the answers have changed. You see, this is the thing. Because the time had changed. What he meant is that we today have certain perspectives on certain things that maybe we didn't last year. So don't be projecting, and stop this dogma and sectarian. Don't just say to me, oh, Ibn Hajar said it's okay, so it's okay. I respect Ibn Hajar. I may love him from that academic sense. You know, I read upon his things. I love these scholars, Nawawi, Qadiyat, but I'm not, you know, we don't have to be sheep and blind follow and throw the honor of the Prophet just for our loyalty to a sect or to a group or to no. So the honor of the messengers, the honor of Islam comes first. Okay? Then you can be, that's what we're loyal to first and foremost. People, I've taken way too long today. I just thought this was really important of a topic. I heard, I'm losing my voice now. I heard this and wallahi, I'm being honest, it hurt me to watch that. I had to actually just switch it off. I saw these clips and I thought to myself, we don't need Islamophobes to attack Islam. Muslims have done such a great job of it themselves. So it really bothered me. And then some people had reached out to me with the similar question, and I thought it's necessary to kind of shed some understanding that I have. Perhaps, you know, it will make sense to you, in the hope that you guys can, inshallah, part this further and take it to others, inshallah. With that, I think let's call it a wrap, people. If this is the first time you're tuning in, then do click like, do click share, like my Facebook pages, follow me for my general videos, YouTube as well, subscribe to me, click that sub button, people. If you're on Instagram, you can add me, Mufti Abu Layth. Snapchat, Malm 2014, that's MALM 2014. You can reach out to me with questions. I will get back to you, inshallah, if I can. Likewise on Twitter. Right, other than that, people, let's wrap this up with the words Subhanallah wa ta'ala amma yasifun, that Allah is transcendent and above which they ascribe to Him. That afdalus salati was salam ala al-qa'il al-mamnoon, that the best of blessings and salutations upon the blessed messenger who said, al-madinatu khayrul lahum law kanu ya'lamun, that Medina is indeed better for them if but only they knew. With that, folks, take very good care of yourselves. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.